Welcome on into WFRV Plus Sports Night. Cameron there with you, gearing you up for a good week of sports. It always is a great week of sports. How's it going, everyone riding solo on this Tuesday? Again, I'm the first to proclaim that days blend in because they always feel like they do. But the good thing is that we're talking sports. They blend in a good way. Not so good for Green Bay women's basketball, who honestly was riding so high after 15 straight conference wins, and the question was not, if the Green Bay women, or pardon me, the question was not when the Green Bay women would lose again. It was if they would lose again, because my goodness, as this team just not outperformed expectations, but they've done something that I think a lot of us questioned at the beginning of the season, knowing that they had just a completely different core. You lose Maddie Schreiber, Cassie Schiltz, Natalie McNeil, Callie Genke. It doesn't matter who you lose, but they lost everyone. And Kayla Karius is going into her first true recruiting class. She brings in local products like Carly Duffney and Gracie Gresh. She brings in Oakland transfer Maddie Skrupski, a few new freshmen like a Christina Ouimet. Like, everything felt like it could be restored back to normal for GB, but we didn't know until we saw it, because with Kevin Borsett, that was so consistent, but this was a new face at the helm. The program's still doing great things, but now you got to bring in a completely new nucleus, and all you're bringing back is Jenna Geyer. And I know you brought in the Pepler sisters, right, from Hortonville, and those were new faces as well. Megan Schultz, Jenna Geyer, and I think those are the only two main returners, if I'm not forgetting anyone, even though I feel like something's blanking my mind right now. But that's exactly what the Green Bay women have to offer. Is it doesn't matter who's on the court. The way that they play for each other is so darn impressive. And the fact is, with all the new, with Karius going into her second year, everything was smooth sailing. 15 straight conference wins. Clinched the Horizon League regular season title with 5 conference games to go. Then the last couple of weeks, honestly, not just the last 2 games, but the last couple of weeks have exposed Green Bay a bit. Not exposed them in a way that they're not a good team anymore, but exposed them in a way that you have to consider the faults. And sometimes those take precedent over all the successes. And Kayla Karius did not shy away from getting on her team about not closing games. And now, as we saw in this most recent Northern Kentucky game, you lose by 18, get outscored by 27 in the final 3 quarters. And then at Cleveland State, you lose in overtime, unable to close that game strong. And now defense has become a problem, in which the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament is really built off your defensive effort, especially for a one-bid league in a smaller conference like the Horizon League. First 15 games during that win streak, you allow a little under 55 points per game. You allow 80 average over the last 2. It definitely isn't a recipe for success. We've seen it over the last few games. And like I said, even the 2 games before that, winning on buzzer beaters on the road. Can GB sustain success? Or will it just be them cruising into the sunset, hoping that their talent takes them further than their ability to perform together? We heard from Kayla Karius for the first time today. It was the team's first full practice, or actually just first practice since that loss to Northern Kentucky on Saturday. And this is what the head coach had to say about her team coming off 2 straight losses after winning their first 15 to open up conference play.
You guys focused? Yeah. Okay, good. I just didn't know if you had to get your cameras. Yeah, I do. No problem. It's always a fun operation. So, Kayla, now that you've had an opportunity to watch some of the game film and whatnot, you talked on Saturday a little bit about the defense. Was there anything on film that you saw that you identified that you're like, all right, that's a concern?
I think so much of the possessions, and our players agreed today. We had a great practice and a great film session. I think we're all on the same page that we didn't give the level of effort that was required, And I think when you go into a lot of technicalities or this action or that screen, there are always going to be those things. But I think when you look at the overall theme, we are not guarding one-on-one the way that we should be. We're not coming up with defensive rebounds and 50-50 balls. And we needed to get back today to competing and being back to who we really are. And at the core of that is the way that we compete and how hard we do.
Because of that, this being the first practice, as you kind of look, was it a really spirited practice? Were you happy with the way the players came
Yeah,
together?
I was really happy with it. You know, you take a couple days off, and the way that this next week just laid out, we don't play until Saturday, so that was a pre-planned Monday off, and I think everybody had some time to just digest it, and every single player watched the game film and came with notes and talking points, and really we hit on some of the core things, and I think we came ready to work today, and I think we have to continue to emphasize that. I mean, we have typically prided ourselves in this program on being the hardest working team on the floor, and I think we're all in agreement that really hasn't been the case recently. And why, I don't know, but the bottom line is we have to get back to that, and I thought we brought that today.
I realize that everybody in this program, it's always about winning and doing well, but when you clinch the #1 seed so early in the conference with 5 games left, and it's supposed to be this heated race, and it turns out you guys just dominate and get that. Is there any chance that some players or a team just kind of like takes the foot off the gas a little bit, even though I know that's not the thing here? Is it possible that just as a human that you do that?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I think that's human nature. We never spoke about it. You know, we continue to approach every game the same way. So I don't think that was necessarily coming from us. But there's a lot of outside noise. Whether you're winning or whether you're losing, there's always going to be outside noise. And at some point, you have to learn how to block it out. And it's so hard for these kids when they have everything at their fingertips and social media and everything that's around them, parents and family and friends. And I don't believe that we were relaxed and kept our foot off the gas. Had we showed up and been down 19-2 again after the first quarter, I may have looked into that a little bit more. But we started out the game strong. I thought we were focused and ready. I do think we just ran into adversity. I think we hit some bad foul trouble. I think we missed layups while they made really tough shots, and the combination of that led them to a 17-3 run in the second quarter. And we were lucky to be down 3 at half, I really felt like. And then they go on their own run again late in the third quarter. And we didn't like our approach to the adversity that happened within the game. So I don't believe it had anything to do with what this conference race looks like. I mean, we really have a lot of goals still out in front of us. So I believe this group still wants to push and get better.
During practice, you were hitting on physicality. Is that kind of where that comes from, too, is not counting on the foul, matching their physicality? Is that kind of the message?
Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of physicality this year. It feels like it's more than in the past. It feels like they're allowed to get away with more. Whether that's just my opinion or that's just what we're seeing. We're a post-up team. Guards post up, post up. And so we naturally feed the ball in the post so much more than everybody else. And so we watch the physicality. It's really such a big factor for the way that we play. And so what we're seeing this year is 2-hand shoves are allowed, and you can cut through the lane and just body check people, and there's no fouls called. And we're following up, and we're hearing, nope, that's legal, even after the fact when there's no repercussions. So we're seeing teams get really physical with us. I think that they're allowing more than they have in the past. I don't know if that starts from higher leagues and is working its way down. I don't know, but the bottom line is I can't worry about what they're calling. I have to just adjust my game. And we're not guarding with enough physicality. We're almost the opposite. We're almost allowing people to get right into the paint and then trying to wall up at the rim when we really should have been physical out there on the perimeter like everybody else is against us. So I think we're seeing, our coaches have seen this big discrepancy in how physical teams are guarding us versus we're guarding them. And I think that we have a huge room to improve there.
Kayla, when did you kind of figure that out, that you guys could be more physical like that? Is it from the last 2 games?
No. Yeah, it's been a while. We've seen it. I don't know. This has been going on most of the season, really. Probably when we were really playing against the Power 4 teams and seeing a lot of physicality. I think we expected it. Then when we started getting into the conference play, I think I was surprised right away how much contact we were still seeing. That was allowed. That was it was free to go inside the paint. So it's been a while. It's not like this just clicked with us. We've been watching it all season long. But I do think the challenge now for our players to defend with more physicality, that's been ramped up recently. I mean, we've given up 83 and 77 points in the last 2 games. Clearly, we're not being physical enough.
Is that something you've noticed? Like, does the physicality ratchet up when you get later in the season, when you get into tournament basketball where maybe there's more desperation by who you're playing against and maybe what they're allowing? Do you notice that just
Changing as the season
even
goes
your
on.
time as a player, when you get into the
Yeah.
postseason, you get in this time of
It
year,
always
it's
seems
kinda
like,
tough.
yeah, it always seems like when you got to the postseason games that they were just allowing a whole lot more. You're right, especially when there's like points of emphasis for these officials at the beginning of the season, and it's always been a hand check emphasis, it gets really tight early in the season. I truly haven't really noticed that big of a difference. I just think it's very physical out there, and we have to be able to match that.
Kayla, you mentioned the foul trouble that Jenna and Megan found themselves in
Yeah.
this last game. Did you get the sense that they really took that to heart after the game?
Oh yeah, I think that yeah, of course they want to be out there and they want to play. When you're having the season like Jenna Geyer's having, and we're looking for a leader to make a play, and she's over there sitting on the bench, she took that really personal. Yeah, I think that we all have to just get more disciplined with what we're doing. And it's not the official's fault. You're always going to have one that you probably disagree with. Like it was probably a cheap foul or one that's kind of a 50-50 situation. And therefore you can't go get the dumb one in the first half where you come down on somebody or you're out of position or you're late. That's the one you can control. So you always have a chance. It's never anybody else's fault but your own. And I think not just those two, but we've had a lot of foul trouble recently that's put people on the bench, and we all have to clean that up.
When you were a player, did you take anything from going through some adversity? I remember that year, 2009-10, you're like 15 or 16 and 0.
Yeah.
And you go to Illinois and it's 2 straight losses.
Yeah.
And that was some adversity for that team. But do you learn something? Do you like that? Or would you rather smooth sailing for a whole season like that?
I just don't think, I think it's utopia to be smooth sailing. I just don't think that happens. And I think maybe from the outside, we've all seen college teams be undefeated all year or close to it, but that doesn't mean they're hitting some kind of adversity along the way. So it happens. It's happened to a lot of great teams. This stretch, whatever this is, we're calling it adversity. It's not the type of adversity where we throw in the towel and come back and now we're a zone team. Now we're scrapping our man defense. I mean, we're not drastically changing. We are actually going backwards and saying we truly believe that what we do works. But we just have to have more effort as we do it, and we have to have more competition in practice, and we have to believe we have the right pieces on the floor. For the most part, it has worked this season. So now you're just seeing teams play harder against us or make tough shots against us, which is going to happen. And things don't go your way all the time, and you're just going to have to find your way through it. So there's no question. I think back on some of those things as a player. I don't share those with these guys because they're going through their own thing. They don't need to hear me compile when I was your age, because to me, that probably goes in one ear and out the other. But I do resonate. I truly know how they feel, and you just have to stick to what you do and work your way through it. And I believe we have the right people in that locker room and the right leaders to help us go through this.
How hard is it to just stick to what you do when the entire season you haven't dealt with this? So what you've
Yeah.
done has always worked, and now
Yeah, almost. I mean, we had some adversity in the non-conference too, where it wasn't pretty, but it was also against really good competition sometimes. But I would go back to the Miami of Ohio game. I mean, that was a game that it felt eerily like this one. Like it happened, and then it happened really fast, and everything just kind of went out of control, and we weren't able to stop a run or respond to adversity as quickly as we needed to. So we've seen that a little bit. It's good for us. It's good. It's good that it happens right now. I think you can look at it like, oh, this is terrible, and we have blemishes on our record, or you can look at it like, this has to happen at some point. Would you rather have it happen now when you've got the time, especially this week when we have the time to get back to who we are and focusing way more on us? Or would you rather have it in a few weeks? And of course, I think we would all answer that now's the time. You're going to go through some adversity. Give credit to those teams last week. Teams are playing hard and playing well against us. And they came in here fearless on Saturday, and we didn't respond the right way. So a lot of that is on us. But we're going to go through it, and we're going to be just fine.
It seems like when I was watching in practice, it seemed like Maddie, I think, had a couple of steals when we were there, and Jenna, just the seriousness of those players like Jenna and Maddie, your big contributors in terms of scoring, how they kind of take that same energy to the end of the court. How important is that?
Yeah, it's so important. You know, you always want your best players to be your hardest workers, and especially in our program, you want your best players to be your hardest workers on the defensive end, and some of your best defenders who are going to set the tone. And I believe that we have those leaders on the floor. I think we have seniors who want to leave their legacy and finish out this season the right way. I mean, they're incredibly driven to do that. So yeah, we're looking for the same amount of effort on both ends. I think some of us are more talented on one end than the other, or more natural at one end than the other. But the bottom line is you have to be able to do both. And I think that you have players who come in for just a short amount of time that we have them. I've seen a player like Maddie Skorupski really improve on the defensive end. You've seen a freshman like Christina we met. And honestly, Gracie Gresh is almost a freshman for how little she played last year. She's really improved on the defensive end. So we need that. We need that from everybody. I think we got the great response we needed today.
And there you go. Green Bay women's basketball head coach Kayla Karius is confident with how the team practiced today. And I'll tell you, being there firsthand, she was on them pretty much the entire time. No matter who it was, they were split into 3 different teams, the starters, the backups, and even the coaching staff out there. And she made sure to emphasize physicality, which is something that this team desperately has missed in their next game and next opportunity to show that they've learned is Friday against Milwaukee at the Crest Event Center. And remember, the Phoenix were perfect at the Crest Center prior to that loss to Northern Kentucky over the weekend, so a bit of a revenge trip there. Okay, we're going to take a break here on WFRV Plus Sports Night. We'll be right back. And we're back on WFRV Plus Sports Night. Really cool earlier today, Carson Fowler going to talk to St. Norbert men's hockey head coach Tim Coughlin, who's been at the helm since the mid-90s. And my goodness, does this guy have a track record that can beat out track records of anyone at any division in any sport. I mean, you talk about a guy who lives, breathes, and dies St. Norbert hockey. And a couple of years ago, I remember he was asked about if he expected to be a 30-year guy, like at a specific school. And he's like, no, I don't think anyone expects that. But when people wake up, they go to their job, and I go to the rink. Remember the arena that they play out at Cornerstone is called Tim Coughlin Arena. It's a guy that has, 24 20-win seasons. On top of that, 21 NCAA tournament appearances. It'll most likely be 22 after this season, not to mention 5 national championships in between the years of 2008 and 2018. And his team right back in position in which they could possibly win the Harris Cup for a 3rd consecutive year. That starting with the quarterfinals, game 1 at the Cornerstone against Concordia, Wisconsin on Friday, game 2 on Saturday. And then what follows is the semis and the finals if SNC advances. And this team just continues to show they have the tools to win. And it starts with Coughlin at the top. And something that resonates from earlier on in the season is Coughlin mentioned Concordia, Wisconsin came in and beat SNC, knowing how tough of a test it will be, and knowing that you can't take the past successes and use them as reasons to win. You got to go out there and win. And that's the approach that Coughlin has taken his entire career. And obviously it's worked out. And Carson Fowler, our sports reporter, catching up with Coughlin. That full interview will be on Sports Extra on Sunday over on WFRV Channel 5. That's Sunday at 10:35 at night. We'll have other stories as well. I caught up with St. Norbert men's basketball head coach Gary Gresh and reflected on not just the season, but the fact that on his coaching staff is a former player of his and a guy that he knows very well because he lives with him. That's his son, Garrett Gresh, in his first year as an assistant coach or volunteer coach as he works at Nicolay National Bank and then right after goes to practice and helps out at games. So it was cool to watch the two of them bond as coaches on the sideline. Kyle Malzahn will also have an interview of his own. So again, that's Sports Extra Sunday at 10:35, but the headliner being Tim Coughlin, who just reached his 700th career win, all at St. Norbert. 700 wins makes him just one of 9 head coaches in the NCAA to reach that mark and the only one to do so with all the wins coming in Division III. And that just speaks to the loyalty of what Coughlin has meant to St. Norbert, and it showed, right? So Tim Coughlin, that interview again with Carson Fowler coming up on Sunday, Sports Extra, 10:35 the start, and that'll be a fun one. We're going to take one final break here on WFRV Plus Sports Night and wrap up the show. And welcome back to the show. Let's wrap things up. Why don't we? High school girls basketball tournament. The bracket was released the other day as the high schoolers take one step closer to playing at the Resch Center in the state tournament to vie for a state title. Teams to watch out for: Kimberly, the girls basketball program, obviously very, very good, and they've been good for a long time. They're a 3 seed. We're the defending D1 state champs. I talked with Dave Lepisto, even in this room on High School Sports Extra a few weeks ago, and he told me that despite winning the other year, his team's taking a 1 game at a time mentality. They don't feel the pressure hanging over them. And now as a 3 seed, you go in as a 1 seed and maybe you have more pressure on you, but as a 3 seed, the route is tough, right? You got to play the 1 and the 2 at some point unless they get knocked out. And Kimberly seems very well equipped with their returners and Haley Doulis and Ava Van Vonderen, and Emily Urban, and the cast of characters they got out there that they can get the job done and make it back-to-back state champs. And Kimberly has shown it on the girls' side. And of course, the boys playoff bracket that won't be released for another week. The boys tournament happening down in Madison a week after the girls tournament over at the Resch Center. Another team to watch out for, Xavier just clinched the Bay Conference with a dominant win over Menasha. Remember, Xavier has made it consecutive years. And honestly, with what the Hawks have cooking with Haley Hafner and Bryn Kroll, of course, it's just devastating that Joy and Elle Kroll can't play. The trio of sisters both tore their ACLs, but Xavier still has a lot to look forward to. They have a lot of positive momentum on their side, and I was chatting with Andy Vandehei, their head coach, a couple weeks ago, and he believes that with how the girls have responded based off of those injuries, he's confident they can get anything done. They feel like they can get anything done. So that's a team to watch out for. They earned a 2 seed in the girls tournament. But my goodness, when you look around the bracket and you look at St. Mary Catholic, only 2 losses on the season, and Autumn Crow being the big name to watch out for there. They didn't have her in the loss to Laconia, so really only lost 1 game. And in the division they're sitting at with being the 1 seed, SMC is a team that can make some noise, as they did, I think it was last year, making it to the state tournament, or was it 2 years ago? One of the two. They've made it one of the last 2 years. And this girls' state tournament is always interesting. The storylines are always there, and there's so much to look forward to when you get to the Resch Center. But the same can be said about working your way through regionals and sectionals, because we've reached the point of the year where you can kind of understand where every team is at, but you don't know where they're going to go. And that's what's exciting. So make sure that you tune into High School Sports Extra every Saturday with Kyle Malzahn at 10:35, right after our nightly newscast on Saturdays. And we got you covered with everything on the high school scene. Speaking of the high school scene, I have a cool story coming to WFRV Channel 5 tomorrow. Notre Dame boys hockey right now gearing up for the playoffs, trying to make it to their 3rd straight state tournament. I think actually 4th straight state tournament, I think it is. Speaking with head coach Mike Skajinski, they just went on a trip a couple weeks ago to play in Detroit, a few games out there. And an alum of the school is actually a player on the Detroit Red Wings, and it worked out in which their games lined up with a Detroit home game. And Mason Appleton, the Notre Dame alum, personally inviting all those kids, all those athletes in the midst of their games to a Detroit Red Wings game, which was so cool. And even cooler is they played the Washington Capitals, in which former St. Norbert hockey player Spencer Carberry is the head coach, 2-time coach of the year in the NHL. So a lot of connections, and Mike Skajinski working it around in which they could play in Detroit and also get that one-of-a-kind experience. Appleton allowing the team ice time at the Detroit Red Wings facility so they could practice on the ice, look up, see the Red Wings logo. And I have that story coming exclusively on Local 5, WFRV Channel 5 tomorrow, Wednesday at 6 and 10, so you won't want to miss that one. Okay, that'll do it for WFRV Plus Sports Night. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. I know these solo episodes, you're just staring at my face the majority of the time, but I'm glad we heard from Green Bay women's basketball head coach Kayla Karius about those 2 straight losses as they gear up for the final 3 games of the regular season, all against Horizon League opponents, before hosting round 1 of the Horizon League tournament as the 1 seed. Again, that'll do it for WFRV Plus Sports Night. We will see you tomorrow. Hope you have a good one.